Hey, it's August, and I don't know if you've got kiddos and you're doing back to school shopping, or if you're just doing back to me shopping, whatever it is. You can check out my first podcast sponsor, Reinvented Threads. Gabby Lynn creates incredible items that are handmade. Each one is unique, and she brings together two of her passions: one, caring for the planet, being environmentally conscious and eco friendly, and being creative. She just loves to do that and even incorporate words. She's a little bit of a word nerd, kind of like me. So she creates incredible bags, hats. As we get into cooler weather, she'll be creating scarves. And she's got bags of all sizes. She's got these really great arty monster dolls, which are really just joyful to look at and put on put on a shelf, or a kid could hold on to them because they're really soft and cute. I have a bag I picked up in June from Gabby, and I adore it. And I'm using it to put my laptop in when I'm out working. And I've gotten so many compliments on it because it's bold, bright, very different, and just very cool. So you're not going to see yourself everywhere. This is certainly unique, well made, handmade, and just very cool. So if you care about cool items and the planet, wow, that's pretty awesome because you found the right business to support. Reinvented Threads. You can see Gabby Lynn out in the Poconos August 22nd and 23rd. She will be at the State Craft Festival, which is in Stroudsburg, August 22nd, 23rd. You can get all of the details and find out where she'll be next at her website, reinventedthreads.com. You can also follow Reinvented Threads on Facebook and on Instagram to see what she's up to, what she's making. And if you see something you like, hey, you don't have to see her in person. Reach out through Instagram or Facebook, and you can buy right from what you see on social media. That's Reinvented Threads. Well, it doesn't matter if you're shopping or not, but when it comes to feeling stressed, that's kind of a feeling that goes with pretty much a lot of activities throughout the year. I laugh, but it's true. We've all got stressors. And my next podcast sponsor can certainly help with that if you're open to learning new skills that can help you throughout your lifetime. Healthy Lifestyle Management with Lisa Regau. Lisa is just, she's such a calming person. I know she probably gets sick of me telling her that, but just being near her has helped me like feel less stressed. But she's got this incredible course and it's coming up soon. So you might want to check it out. Now it is in person, so you would have to attend here in Scranton. It is a mindfulness based stress reduction course. It's 8 weeks. It's evidence based with more than 45 years of research supporting people around the world to flourish, manage challenging emotions with physical pain, and respond skillfully to stress. I took this course back in April, and I will tell you, it is a commitment in the sense that it will take just an ability to open yourself up to new ideas and to learning skills that will help you. Mindfulness, meditation, listening to your body, things like that. And I won't do it justice, but I will say that it was an incredible experience. It really was. It's 8 weeks, so it is a commitment. And here's the thing. If you go to the website, eatbreathemovelive.com, you can read more about it. But the great thing is too, that if you go to sign up, and you go to the first meeting, which is, it's actually 8 weeks, but before the 8 weeks begin, on September 9th, there is a mandatory orientation. And this is a really helpful orientation. You go to that, and if you think, you know what, this isn't for me, then you don't sign up. It's that simple. But if you think you want to do it, definitely reach out and check out online eatbreathemovelive.com. And if you register for this 8 week course by August 26th, you will get $50 off. So if you check out the website, you'll get a better sense of what it's about. It helps with stress resilience, emotional well-being, and just having a deeper presence, learning to really be in the moment. And I will tell you, this is not something you're going to take one and done and be like, all right, I'm good. Let me tell you, it's certainly one of the big things that it helped me realize is that everything is a practice. So if you're like, oh shoot, I thought I was doing so well, but then I had those cookies and I didn't go for my walk today. It's okay. It's okay. You learn to begin again and meet yourself exactly where you are. So check out Healthy Lifestyle Management online, Eat, Breathe, movelive.com and learn about the course coming up. 8 weeks. Like I said, the orientation is September 9th, and then it's 8 weeks after that. It's every Wednesday, September 23rd through November 11th. Learn more online, and if you want to take advantage of that $50 off, register by August 26th. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Uncorked with Funny Wine Girl. This is Funny Wine Girl, aka Janine Luby, and I've got kind of a special episode for you this week. It is mid-August already, which I must have spoken to two different friends in the past week who said the same thing. Like, oh my gosh, life is going fast. I think I was saying the thing about like, I don't know. I was talking about some personal stuff and I'm like, yeah, we have to remember life is short. So, more or less say the things that's on your mind. Say the things you want to say. Who cares how you say it? You know what I mean? Especially if it's someone close to you, they're not going to judge. Or if they do, hey, you need to get a conversation started, get it started. But I was saying life is short. And he said to me, he was feeling lately, life is fast. Like the summer was like going by already. And he's like, life is fast as we get older. And it's true. I hate to sound like an 80-year-old Wilford Brimley here. I don't even know how old he is. It seems like he's been 80 for the past 30 years. I don't even know if he's alive, honestly, and I'm sorry. But yeah, I feel like I'm getting to be this old man ready to sit in a rocking chair and drink lemonade. But the important thing is do the things, say the things, do the things, because really, we're not promised moments beyond what we've got. And yeah, I don't know why I started off that way, but that it's already mid-August. That's what I guess that's where that came from. But during August, typically in the past couple of years, if you've listened on a somewhat regular basis, that you know, I've been trying to cover the topic of women's personal protection and safety, especially as we enter this time of year. I think it's important for women of all ages, but it's something that's really especially important to women that are in their teens to late teens, early 20s, who will be on college campuses, because this time of year when colleges go back to school, they start the semester pretty soon. There's varied times. Some start, next week, some of the week after. But typically in August, the semester kicks off and people are moving into their dorms or moving on campus or into apartments. And this time of year, from the start of the semester through Thanksgiving break, has been referred to as the red zone, meaning that it's a certain time of year where more than 50% of sexual assaults that happen on campus happen during this time, the red zone. And I'm sure I don't have the information in front of me why that is. We could take guesses, but I'm not going to do that. What I am going to say is, for the past several years, I've been sharing a conversation with, in the past couple of years, Tsunami Self-Defense, Robert Thomas a few years ago, and then one of his top instructors, Margaret Clark. And I think what I did last year, the year before, I kind of did a mashup. I did a mix where I edited our conversation, and then I edited a part of another conversation that I had with Shira Bernard. Shira is a young woman who was on Shark Tank back in a couple of years ago, maybe 5 years ago. She had thought up this idea for a way to protect women's drinks when they're out at the bar or anywhere, really, to protect them from being spiked. And Nightcap is the company. And basically, her initial product, now she's got several products, but her initial product was this scrunchie that you could take out of your hair. And then inside is a little pouch that opened up to this like cloth kind of covering for your drink. And then you put the straw through it. So because of the amount of drink spiking that takes place. And so these topics kind of go hand in hand, because sexual assaults happen often after, why does someone spike a drink? Because, they have obviously evil intention and want to take advantage of a woman, sexually assault in some fashion. And that happens on college campuses too. And in fact, just a side note of that, I'm going to let the recording for this week speak for itself. But keep in mind also, a lot of times people have a false sense of security if they think, well, I'm not drinking alcohol, so I'm fine. But there have been cases where people's water bottles have been spiked. And I'm not trying to tell anyone to be paranoid, obviously, but I'm just saying that it's not just, oh, that person was drunk, so that's why she didn't know, or that person was drinking, or that. No, there have been drinks of all kinds spiked. In fact, Shira Bernard, who came up with the nightcap product, put out a documentary, and I believe it came out last year, and it's out on YouTube for free. Of course, I should have looked up the name before I hopped on here, but I didn't realize that I would be talking about it. Oh gosh, I will put it in the show notes for you. But basically, her company produced this documentary that is a really excellent documentary, and it tells the story of a few different women who had their drinks spiked. And one woman actually died, and her family, I believe, is part of it included, excuse me, as part of the documentary and the interviews. But what was so startling or stood out for me is that, unfortunately, and when she did this documentary, it's probably came out last year, but I'm sure it was worked on for the year before, so maybe 2 years old. Hopefully things are improving by now. But in many cases, the emergency rooms often did not believe the women. They're just like, oh yeah, you just drank too much. You're just drunk. You're just hungover. You're throwing up because you drank too much. They often did not believe the women. And unfortunately, with I guess is it GHB, the roofie drug. There's a short window when someone can be tested for that so that it can be proven that it's in the bloodstream. So I think if they don't do it within the first, I don't know if it's 12 hours or 24 hours. So like the next day, like after 24 hours, you can't tell if it was in the bloodstream. So I think the important point they were making is that when these women were going to the emergency room, in many cases, the women were just being told, oh, you're just drunk. That's why you're feeling this way. And they didn't, in a lot of cases, they didn't test them for the drug, the roofie drug. And then it was too late. And in some cases, as I said, the one case, the one young woman died. And in many of the other cases, the women were like really feeling debilitated for days in their bed because of the effects of the drug. So I think in some cases, perhaps their friends got them out of there, thankfully, so they weren't assaulted, but the drug itself caused them physical harm and the trauma of not knowing what the hell just happened. Someone slipped me something. How did it happen? Then you have the emotional trauma from that. So it's a lot. But this time of year is when I like to have these conversations because young women, young men and young women and all genders are going back to school. But as you know, here on the podcast, I like to focus on advocacy for women. So I usually have a conversation around this topic. So this week, like I said, it's a little bit different because what I did last week in honor or celebration of the fact that my podcast is 5 years old, and I'm celebrating that fact by trying to do more in-person type of events to get people together, to connect, to learn, to have fun together. And so last Thursday, August 13th, I had something called a SIP and safety event. And it was held at one of our local libraries here at the Abington Community Library. And initially the idea was going to be some wine and some mocktails and some snacks, but the library decided that it was best that they not have wine, which was fine. So it was still called Sip and Safety because you can sip on a mocktail. So we had some snacks, and Robert Thomas of Tsunami Self-Defense was there as my collaborator, my guest, and he brought along two folks from his crew, two instructors, Alyssa and Margaret. And so Robert was really the expert. I've had a couple Ask the Experts that I've done online. I did one in January, I think January, about financial wealth and budgeting. And then with Tina Gallagher, I did that one, perhaps maybe it was March, if about anyone who is interested in learning about self-publishing, the publishing world, to be an author. So those two previous Ask the Experts, this was kind of in line with that, where Robert was the expert. Some folks from the audience there asked questions. I asked Robert a few follow-up questions, and Alyssa and Margaret were there as well to share information based on their experience, not just as women, but as instructors working with Robert to help reinforce some of the messages that were delivered. So we had this event last week. It was great. So nice to have people get together in person. It is so important that we keep on doing this, showing up for one another. It was just, it was really great. I had such great feedback about Robert and his crew from Tsunami Self-Defense. And I was so glad that we were able to partner and get this out there. And I was grateful for the venue, grateful to the Abington Community Library for the space that they offered us for free, which was great. And it was an opportunity for women to talk to one another, to talk to Robert afterwards, ask him some more questions, learn about the upcoming workshops and classes that he offers through Tsunami Self-Defense, and just to be there together and know that, we're not alone. We're out there to support one another and to learn some tips on safety and to actually do some moves. We did some hands-on demos, but this week's episode of the podcast, of course, is not going to, because you wouldn't really benefit too much from listening or even watching, if you were watching on YouTube, people doing different moves. So I kind of edited what happened that night down to the talking part, if you will. And it's, Robert sharing information like the 4 Ps. He wants people to be prepared, not paranoid. And I forget the other 2. So you're going to have to listen to learn about that. And he also kind of talked a little bit too about some myths that are out there. He busted some myths. And I will tell you up front, one of them is from years ago. They used to say, put your keys between your fingers, like walking in the parking lot, so that the key would stick out kind of like a brass knuckle or something. That is not something that Robert recommends. Not only does he not recommend it, he thinks it's terrible advice. So if you listen to this week's episode, you'll learn about some great tips for yourself. Maybe you have a daughter or a niece or just someone in your life you care about who's heading off to college. Maybe you could share the episode with them. I do think it's got some really valuable, practical information that you can use.
No, so tonight, I do want to hear your questions for Robert. Tonight is meant to be about personal protection and safety. I do want to address one aspect. We said we wouldn't spend a ton of time on it, not because it's not important, but because we're not going to solve it in this room. My algorithms are loaded with this stuff. That's why I'm overwhelmed with it. Basically, the patriarchy and how people are like, oh no, it's real. And the rape culture that exists. We have people who are still revered in Hollywood, in politics, in UFC fighters, sports, you name it, who have raped women, have assaulted women. And I'm sorry for using that. I know it can trigger people, but that's what it is. And they're still getting paid. They're earning a great big fat paycheck, and there aren't consequences. And that sucks. And the conversation a lot of times, and I've had this with Margaret on the podcast, because poor Robert gets thrown under the bus here. When I did run, before I put on too much perimenopause weight, when I was running, I would often run alone because that's the schedule. That's how it worked for me. And we would have, and to his, his defense, he was just thinking of my own safety. And he's, being smart. But I used to get annoyed and be like, why do I have to change my behavior? Why? This sucks that I have to worry what time I go. I work for myself, so there's not a lot of people that are available, and maybe not my speed, because someone who does a 6-minute mile is not going to run with an 11-minute mile. It doesn't work that way. So we would have that conversation. So there's that aspect of it. We can't control the male behavior. Why do we need to change our lives? The violence needs to stop. But tonight we're really going to focus on what we can do. I mean, that is an important conversation. I don't know if, Robert, you want to say anything about that, because you do offer some classes where you do work with young men. So I think,
absolutely, yeah.
Besides the men who are doing the violence, there's an opportunity for other men to be good role models and be like, stop that shit. You know what I mean? That's wrong. What would you like to say about that, Robert? You chose to be here.
Well, we were going to bring that topic up.
Well, no, we said we were going to talk about it briefly.
Here's me setting a boundary.
Here's me respecting it. If you don't feel comfortable with something.
I don't.
Okay.
So what I was going to say was, I was going to start with, let me backtrack a little bit, and I'll get to that, but I was going to start with...
I'll make sure you do.
That self-defense, the way we look at things, we'll go right there now. To not do something, I shouldn't have to, because that is a valid point, and I completely understand it, and I know where it's coming from. But when we look at real violence and how whatever law is passed, raise your hand if you think there's too many school shootings in this country, too much gun violence. Okay. All of them happen in gun-free zones where guns aren't allowed. Okay, so the rules don't matter when the criminal is acting the way they want to act. And I think that's the case for, violence doesn't care. And that's maybe a harsh way to come at it, to approach the topic, but that's the best way to, if you don't accept reality, you can't control reality. You have to, you know what I mean? You have to literally accept, like, here's where we are. It's not where we want to be, but it's where we are. And I pray and hope things are getting better in that regard, all right? And in some ways they are, in some ways they're not. In many ways, it's it's an uphill battle. But I will say that regardless of your stance on things, where you are in your viewpoints on things, you know, ultimately, bad stuff happens to people, and we don't want it to, but it does. So we always use a couple catchphrases, a couple hashtags. Guard up. Be your own first line of defense. You know, because we can't control what's happening around us, we have to control how we respond to it. Does that make sense? So, let me also say that self-defense is not a karate jiu-jitsu class. It is not a firearm. It is not a baseball bat. It is not, you know, whatever, a pepper spray or mace. It is a legal term. It's a legal term. That's the first thing on the list here, legal and ethical. Self-defense is how we approach things from a legal aspect, legal standpoint, okay? How you defend yourself could be karate, firearm, jiu-jitsu, pepper spray. But self-defense is a legal term, and if you're claiming self-defense, it's what's known as an affirmative defense, the first go-to answer. Violence should be when all other options have exhausted. You know, we have no other choice than we go to physical defense maneuvers. So, you know, I think I just want to start in that arena, in that realm.
Thank you, Robert. No, I appreciate that, and I do agree with what Robert is saying. It's just, I didn't want to not address that because I do feel that we are living in a time which is, it's actually quite frightening to think that, you know, a UFC fighter is, you know, getting all this money, and a lot of people don't have a problem with it. In fact, there are people, and I won't throw the person under the bus right now, someone who's on the radio, I've been on his podcast, and he's like, I don't care what this guy did, blah, blah, blah. Well, we kind of need to get away from that, because that's like, oh, it's cool that you did that. You know, let's still throw money at you. That's cool.
He got national, he was on the Tonight Show.
He's on Jimmy Fallon, right? And a lot of people, now the sad part is, and I won't go down this rabbit hole, I'll never come out, we are a society that's very distracted, right? So Jimmy Kimmel, you know, there was a lot of people who came out, canceled their Hulu, and he stayed on the air. Jimmy Fallon, people are like, I'm pissed. I don't know what came of that. I don't really think there was consequences of it. Maybe some people have stopped watching him. I don't know, but like we get so, and there's so much going on in all of our defense. There's so much going on. That's where we go back to, I'll go to my friend's MSBR course, you gotta take a pause because you can't be, you'll be overwhelmed and then you can't do anything. So you do what you can, right? But I just want to, I'll close the loop on this topic. Like I said, we're not gonna smash the patriarchy tonight, but we are here. And I will say, we need to show up for one another. We need to show up for women. We need to believe women. We need to do all that good stuff. And I will say what I'm hoping to do on the podcast, because one day I was feeling overwhelmed scrolling, and it was like, oh, another congressperson that beat the crap out of, you know, oh, here's another one, like you see it every day. And I'm like, okay, well, I have people on talking about how we can protect ourselves, all these things. But what about that behavior? How do we address it? Is it because men are not being taught at a young age to emote in a healthy way? I'm no psychologist, but I'm guessing or wondering. So I reached out to Elise Kerr, who's a local therapist. She owns Integrative Mind and something. She's a great person. I said, is this your area of expertise? Would you consider coming on and talking about this? Because she also does work counseling in the schools. You know, what is being done? What can we do to teach young boys, like, and how to change the culture, basically? And so it wasn't her, but she's connected me with 2 other counselors. So we're in the back and forth trying to figure out a schedule. So they will be guests. So we will have that conversation. Again, another important conversation, but we'll stick to what we can do because Robert is right. And I used to give him a really hard time about it, but like, so for me, okay, I was going to keep running by myself, but again, I still agree too. I'm not going to be like running out there with like loud, like, so I can't hear my surroundings. You know, I was never a person who liked that anyway. I'm a weirdo who just likes the sound of like a car going by, like, or my own thoughts, you know.
God forbid! Run with your own thoughts.
No, I love my thoughts. That's what I mean. Like, I love my thoughts. They're amazing. No, they're horrifying. No, a lot of people don't though, and I used to, and not that we need to go down there, that was one of my paths, but like, it was meditation. meditative for me. Like for some people it is. And it was beautiful in the meditative value because I am a ruminator and a worrier, but there's something about the movement you're not allowed to. Your mind doesn't let you, or your body doesn't. It just goes woo. So I used to love that. I never really had the headphones on, but to get back to his point, we can do things like, again, what can we control? So whether we like it or not, which we sure as hell don't, many of us, if this freaking sucks, how this is happening. But what can we do? And we're going to focus on that tonight. So
I'll say two local colleges. We'll just sort of drift away from them.
Hey, I was ready to go.
Yeah, thank you.
That should be better.
Hold on. No, I'm agreeing with you.
Yes, and Robert.
There are two local schools, I won't name them, two local colleges, higher education schools, that actually are talking with us. Louise and I have been talking about, hi Louise. We've been doing work on like positive interactions and active bystander courses. So all that is happening in the works as well. So we are moving in that direction as well from the Tsunami self-defense standpoint. So, anyway,
Good.
yeah. What else?
What questions can Robert answer? Because he's the expert here tonight, and his crew. So what are there
staff
or myths or kind of things that you would like to ask about that has to do with personal protection or safety? Do you have any questions you'd like to ask?
It's okay.
It's okay if you don't. I just thought I'd put that out there. Don't be shy, honestly.
Just kidding. Go ahead. What's up?
So obviously we are going into college now, but
Yeah.
we do have a late class that goes from 7 to 10:30. But we both have it on different days, so we won't even get out together. So like, what could we both do to like be safer?
Well, okay. I have two quick answers, and my answers are going to be a little more practical, a little more like literally hands-on stuff. So first and foremost, back up to get orientation weekend already happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought you maybe did a visit and now you're going for the term for the semester. But when you go, I think this is something we say to all first-year students, and especially Welcome Week and things like that when we're invited to campuses and colleges to do that stuff, is watch the information you put out there and give freely. I think there's 3 questions all first-year students or transfer students are asked right away. What do you think they are? It's orientation weekend. There's a 1,000 new students around. I don't want to say what school you're going to. We're on live streams, but I know where you're going. But what are some of the questions that others might ask you? There's other first-year students all around.
Where are you from?
Boom, there's one of them. Where are you from? Another one guaranteed is, what's your major? Right? And what dorm are you in? That's Scranton for what resident hall you're living in. What dorm are you in? I'll do what I meant. So what resident hall you're living in, what's your major, where you're from, that kind of stuff, okay? If you give those 3 simple answers out, okay, and majors at universities are usually at a certain building. All the art and music are in one area, all the sciences are in one building, all the education here. So if they know your major, they know what dorm you're living in, what resident hall you're in, okay, and maybe throw in like the campus bookstore or the activity center, it's really easy to sort of triangulate your walking patterns and your routes. So you have to sort of, to be good at personal protection, you have to think like a dirtbag. You have to think like a criminal. Think like the criminal. Be like, I just told that kid my resident hall, and he knows my major. You know what I mean? Like, so your walking patterns are going to be very obvious. So maybe you hold back on some of the information you're giving out, okay? And then secondly, for the actual leaving the building late at night, buddy systems are great. Safety in numbers is awesome. I think that's sound advice. The old adage of safety in numbers. Violence and predatory behaviors, predation is animalistic. It is, watch any nature show. The gazelle that's straying from the herd is the one the lion or the cheetah is going to go after. Okay? The one that's in the middle of the pack doesn't get chosen. Okay, so safety in numbers is something to think about. So if you're living alone, maybe have some friends to walk to at least to a certain area with. I love For self-defense tools, I love flashlights. Most people say, yeah, that's gonna look like a dork carrying a flashlight, but I strongly advise you to carry a flashlight. It looks like you are proactive. You're lighting your way, right? It should be metal, and it should extend beyond your palm. So I can't tell you what size to get, just take your hand. Is that pepper spray? Or not? Yes, I see you giving.
I had one from the Navy. It was like this big. And it was
Okay, that's great.
The thing was heavy.
Mag light.
Yeah. Mag light? Yeah. So as long as it goes beyond the length of your hand, your palm, so it could be a striking tool. But just a flashlight alone, like nobody wants to. Hello.
Hi, sorry.
That's okay. Nobody wants to like criminals across the board. Is another general statement you can punch into any thought you have going on in your head. Criminals don't want three things. They don't want to be caught, they don't want to be injured, they don't want to be identified. So if they're coming towards you and you put a light on them, they already can't see you as well because the bright light is in front of them. So it's hard to see through that light beam. Okay? And all of their features are now in your vision. Okay? So it's a real deterrent. It's a greater deterrent than you think it is, that light beam. That's locked, okay? So there are two quick things for the safety numbers, get a group to walk with, trusted people to go to and from the resident hall with, and does it make sense? They're too quick. And take some self-defense classes. Anyway, thanks for asking. That's a great question. Did I answer it?
Yeah.
Anything else?
If I could add one thing, just to help you guys, because I know it's like you're going to college for the first time, you're not going to know people for this first couple of weeks, so just to almost solve your answer for a little bit, because you're not going to be taking those classes at the same time, just text each other when you're leaving and when you get back to where you're going. And be buddies for each other. Like, we have technology, use it to your advantage.
Yeah.
If you can't be with someone, just be like, hey, I'm leaving this class now. She knows where I am and where I'm headed. And let her know when I'm get there. And that'll just be a little band-aid for the meantime when you're getting to know people and maybe you don't know people in your classes yet, and eventually you get to that point where it's like, oh, I have people I can walk to and from with.
Yeah. Pin locations, do
Life 360.
Life 360 with one another.
I had that all throughout college.
Yeah.
Tell your professor.
What's that?
We asked our professors to walk. They weren't ever worried about me, but if I had her, all of a sudden it was like, you can't walk to the car by yourself. I was like, okay. But yeah, so our professor would just, like, somebody went up to her and said, hey, like, it's 10 o'clock when we get out of class.
Yeah.
Can you walk us, and there were some guys that would just split a group and walk us out, so.
Yeah. And I also, that's a great piece of advice, both of you. You could take the campus shuttle, have them come pick you up. I know that's kind of like lame to do anyway. No, seriously. Like, that's the bigger thing, is to listen to your intuition. Like, you should ask the professor, take a flashlight, campus shuttle, but you're like, I'm not going to do that. And that's where we have that kind of angel devil on our shoulders, just counting your own intuitive nature to keep you safe. Your intuition will never lead you to danger. Your intuition will always lead you to safety. And we have to act on it and trust it. Yeah. So that's great. Good answer. Thank you.
They also have those keychains that have the sirens on them.
Yeah,
You
they're great.
press the button, and boy, let me tell you, they're loud.
Yeah.
They'll bring somebody to you right away. I had them for my daughter. I bought them for all my nieces. Keep them on your keychain, keep them on you, attach them to your jeans. Even if you think, like you said, your intuition says you're in trouble, pull it and open it.
Yeah.
Let somebody come to you.
Yeah. They don't want to get caught. They don't want to be identified. They don't want trouble. They don't, so do that. They sell combos now. There's a flashlight, pepper spray, alarm combos.
There you go.
Yeah.
And the campus should have, I know I taught at King's, they have those little boxes that somebody can pull.
Call box or
Yeah,
pull switch.
call box or pull switch to alarm kind of thing,
Yeah.
Let me follow up to something you said, if it's okay.
Please, yeah.
So as far as how, this could be for any age, but I mean, it can be challenging to know, like, you want to do your best, but you also want to be human, right?
Right.
Ideally.
Ideally.
So, like, you can't be all, like, Mysterioso, like, oh yeah, my name's Sue.
Right.
All I'm telling you. How, like, where's the balance, or how do you have that balance so that, like, you're learning to get to know people,
Yeah.
you know, as friends, but is that where intuition comes in, where it's like, I don't know if I trust these people, kind of thing.
Intuition will answer a lot of that. I would like saying, like, I'm not sure yet, I'm still undeclared, like, even if you have your major, like, it's a lie, but you're sort of just, I'm thinking about changing, like, just, like, you gotta gauge the
But I mean, like,
person.
even in a broader sense, not just the major, but like, that's in life, you know, sometimes, well, I'll take this in a different direction, this might be going too far or too broad of a topic, but a lot of people share way too much on social media,
Yeah.
right? So people can pretty much track, like, oh, I see there's pus coming out of her wound and she's in the ER. People like to really put the stuff out there. Perhaps you can address that topic, right?
Well, I mean, anybody who's on social media, I mean, Sabrina has a lot of events, we all have events that we do, right? Like, so you know their whereabouts. Like, I had somebody show up at roll call because they knew I had a class, because it was posted for a month that we had a class. And it was an old college roommate, it was great, I'm glad he popped in to see me, he was surprising me. But like, yeah, my whereabouts in that moment was known. So yeah, watch, like, what you post, you know, like, is that what you meant?
Yeah, like how do you find that balance, I guess?
I did. That's
Or
tough.
is it just a tricky question that I
No,
should have asked you?
I'm glad you
You're like,
asked.
why did you ask me?
So Janine, when I had my night class, I didn't post my night class. 'Cause
Yeah.
y'all, if you follow me, you guys, I'm posting the pus in the emergency room. But I did not. That's me. But I didn't post my night class. I posted my, like, you knew I was on campus, whatever. But I never posted that I had a class from 6 to 9.
Right.
Like ever, because it was just weird.
Sure.
It was dark and creepy, and I was walking by myself a lot. So like, yeah, you can. And then also sometimes I know you were laughing because probably have a creepy guy come up to you and be like, "Hey, where do you live?" And you're like, "Oh no,
Yeah,
I may have just
no.
told this person where I live. I'm not telling you that."
Right.
I was like,
Yeah. Another thing too is like, I don't want to like even on social media. It's fun. We like doing it. But I think some of the trends I see the kids doing these days is like posting like.
Okay, Grams.
I'm old. What do you want? Like,
Well, I'm
but
living
if you see like August so far, or like there's like a collage of maybe 5 or 6 things that all have already happened, not currently happening or in the future. What?
We're agreeing.
Yeah.
You're agreeing?
Yeah, a dump, they call it.
Oh, it's dumb? Okay. It's dumb. The kids tell me they call it dumb. So you did a photo dump, this big photo dump. You just wanted to get me to say dump out loud.
Several times.
Yeah. So, but I like that. You know, I mean, still like, here's what we did last week, blah, blah, whatever.
I don't do dumps. I'm in the older generation too, but I don't do dumps. But I don't post until after I'm back from where I was.
Right.
If we're on family vacation, wherever we're doing, I'm already back by the time they see it.
I completely agree.
I don't let them know where I'm at exactly at the time I'm there.
You're 100% right. I have good friends. One's a doctor, one's a lawyer, and they're like, 6 weeks to Disney.
All the burglars are like,
Yeah.
5 more days.
Yeah, 5 more days when you rent this house. Like,
Even
all that stuff.
restaurant check-ins
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah, in the moment check-ins, I think are a terrible idea.
Again, after
But yeah, that's what you do. You
Okay.
balance it out with your intuitive nature and how you want to present to the social media world. Yeah.
So this is a little different, but I'm a very friendly person. So I meet people places, and they're like, "Oh, I go there too." And I don't want to like get sold into slavery or anything. So basically, like, so just recently, just an example. Now I'm 48 years old, right? But I hung out at Altar Bar. There was a girl next to. I go to Philly for work, and I'm down there like 3 days a week. I drive all the time and everything. So she and I start talking. She's in from Philly. She and her husband are like, "We'll take you on a food tour. We'll do this, 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 this." And I'm like, "This sounds great," and I'm definitely doing it. But I gave my mother, my sister, and 4 friends her phone number. I told her what restaurants we were going to. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. No, because I was raised by 2 New Yorkers, so I'm paranoid as heck, but like I'm also really friendly. So I'm trying to find a balance.
The
But
balance.
like, do you think that's like,
I think
okay?
that's smart. I like
Am I going to be on TV? She's going to be like, "I saw you talk about
This
it."
is the what not to do.
right.
we are live streaming. I probably should have mentioned that. So I don't know if that matters to anybody.
No. I think that was the other advice about location tags,
Yeah.
letting people know and all that stuff. And don't be afraid to like excuse yourself and make a quick phone call.
Right.
Like, you know, I need to, you know, please, like never. I'm sure you've all seen the memes or the phrases like, don't, it's okay to be rude. It is. It totally is. In the moment though, that's also a balance. Like if you're so rude to somebody that you bruise their ego in front of their friends at the bar, that could be the dude waiting out at 2 in the morning in the parking lot. Like so I'm not saying like don't stand up for yourself, but I always say keep it conversational, not confrontational. Like you don't need to like spout off in this mean way, right? Unless they're physically harmed. You're giving yourselves away. But I mean, all of that is a scale, a graduating scale. Like if they are being aggressive, if they're being crossing boundaries, if they're being touching, you know, like then you go to the next thing, you know. But if it's just sort of like this mild, you know, sort of like in the conversation, trying to get more information out of you, don't be afraid to excuse yourself. I need to use the restroom, make a phone call, get a reason to get out of there, you know. In those kind of settings too, we used to talk about this back in the old days. We'd say like an hour into in the old days, an hour or so into the event, into the thing you're doing, have your friend, roommate, parent call you out of the blue. You know, get that phone call and check in, and then give your, you know, what's going on.
Gotcha.
You need to invent the secret password. I love safety kind of like code things because in today's day and age with AI and stuff, like they're not going to know that word. I tell to my children's classes, I have parents have get me out of here word, her phrase, you know, all the time, and I think it's smart.
What about, we have like a family group chat.
Okay.
So anytime anyone goes anywhere, everybody in that family group chat knows where they are. And we have addresses of where they are and who they're with.
I think it's a great idea. Great idea. Yeah. Great job.
One of the things that I started doing was if I'm starting to talk to a guy, I don't give him my real number. I got a Google Voice number, which is free, and I will give him that. And then once I feel comfortable, I will give him my real number.
Sure.
And also then if he freaks out and is mad about that, I'm like, nope, we're done.
That's excellent. Everybody hear that? That's excellent. I didn't know that was an option. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing.
But the more important part was if they freak out when you give them the real number, that's huge. Yeah. We always say when we teach our strict women's only classes, we don't allow men in your family to observe. Like Louise has been training over a year now. I just met her husband right now for the first time tonight. Like we don't allow guys to watch the classes when it's a strict women's only course. We have lots of co-ed classes as well, but I always tell people, see how your significant other reacts to not being shown this stuff. You know, Margaret's husband, I know, is an awesome dude, a great guy, because he doesn't pressure you to, you know, what are you learning there? You know, I've had plenty of women who have come taking classes, literally praised me up and down, brought their kids to the kids' classes. I could show you messages. I want to become an instructor someday. I love this course. They come back month after month. They loved it. Then they brought their husband to a co-ed class, and I've never seen her from them again. I think that's a huge red flag.
For sure.
Huge red flag. That this guy's like, what do you want to, you know, like the machismo coming off her husband was ridiculous. It was insane. I just think that's a huge red flag. So, yes. So great.
Robert, any other questions?
Yes.
Otherwise, we'll get to. I want to make sure you get to all your tips and stuff. Any other? But I don't want to cut any questions off.
Anything for like little young girls to protect themselves, or
Sure.
they could do for walking home from school or different things.
I live in a community right near. I live in Taylor. I don't know what I'm saying. So I'm right near Riverside High School and Riverside Elementary School, and so I see all ages walking to and from. Right. And the children with their faces buried in their phones walking home from school is absurd. You know what I mean? It's way too much. Like I know that's all right. The adults tell me not to look at my phone again, but that's a big one. Like not being distracted. Okay, especially when you're wearing a backpack. A backpack helps someone take you. Believe it or not, like it literally is helping you be taken. You it's giving you straps on your shoulders, pick up easily. It's aiding. I had one woman tell me, I carry my purse like across, like messenger bag style across my body. I was like, well, good. They're probably less likely to steal your purse, but they're more likely to take you. You know, and then we talk about resource predators and process predators. Resource predators want your stuff, right? They want your electronics, your jewelry, your laptop, your phone, your vehicle. They want things. Process predators can care less about that. Process predator wants you, wants to harm you, wants to do horrible things to you. Okay? So depending on how you're carrying stuff, it could aid or deter a process predator or a resource predator. So when we really, our courses are not karate or boxing or jiu-jitsu, they're more like, you know, we study criminology and victimology and how we can, you know, navigate things through everyday life using our intuitive nature.
Do you want to get into your 4 Ps, or do you want to I don't want to get you out of order.
Yeah. So I just sort of did things from violence dynamics. The process and resource stuff comes from violence dynamics. Okay. If you guys want to jump in, please. Okay. I always have. I have an amazing team of female instructors. I'm never mansplaining. Mansplaining from a man. I'm sorry.
That's funny, isn't it?
I'm sorry. So anyway,
I'll explain it further.
I haven't. I got to move a little shorter. I want to get back to her question about the youngsters. We have some moves. There's some phrases in certain martial arts that are like, size doesn't matter. You can beat up, you can defend it against any opponent. I don't like that phrase. I mean, size absolutely matters. Like the size of the assailant compared to you absolutely matters. Okay. But we have moves and techniques, for lack of a better term, physicality things that we show that don't rely on you being much physically stronger than the assailant, and they still work. Does that make sense? That little carving out that little distinction there? Okay. So I discussed resource predators and process predators. The other thing we should talk about is 2 types of violence. On planet Earth, all violence can be sort of chunked into 2 categories. There's, what are they?
There's social violence and asocial violence.
Oh, right. So asocial violence is just the type of violence that does not want an audience, does not want to be seen. It's all the bad stuff behind closed doors, okay? But social violence wants an audience, okay? That's the gang violence, it's organized crime, teen takeovers, the 40 kids running into a CVS just looting, like all that is intimidation and fear. It's a social thing, okay? But it's looting would be a resource predator, social violence. Behind closed doors, domestic sexual assaults, things like that would be process crime that is asocial. Make sense? So we can kind of break it down into those categories. And then avoidance skills, that's using your intuition. We talked about that a lot throughout the night. Avoiding things. Simple way is, if you hear bad reputation about a certain off-campus house, trust that. You know what I mean? You don't go see for yourself. Like, there's a bad vibe coming out of that. Like, maybe, all right, like 30 girls said avoid that house. Maybe trust those. Okay? Alyssa went to a university, we won't say where, but it was an off-campus house that was notorious for horrible things happening at the school she attended back when she was in college.
And it doesn't have to be like a frat or Greek life. It could be sports. It could be just a group of people.
Yeah, herd mentality group thing will do that, you know, like across the board. So when especially at a university where there isn't social Greek life, a void is filled in that sort of horrible, you know, world of groups of guys living together. So parents, I'm saying it's really bad when you get like a bunch of dudes living in a house together. That mentality is usually for the most part not very good. And getting back to your question with your you said?
Yeah.
We'll show a move at the end where I think you'll see how she could defend herself against a larger, stronger assailant. Okay. We'll show a couple moves like that as well. So, yeah. Oh, we're still going through. So counter ambush, because I brought this visual here. Counter ambush is, well, there's no time to prepare. It's just happening. You're unloading groceries out of the carts to your vehicle, and somebody's grabbing hold of it. You know, you're walking, you turn a corner, and somebody's there. Okay, or somebody's, watched you walk from this campus, from this building to back to your dorm, and they're just jumping out of the shrubs or whatever's happening. Like they're ambushing you. It's a complete and utter, like, no time to prepare. We have some moves for those kind of encounters. It's difficult to train. It's scary to train. A lot of people have a little anxiety over those seminars, but it's necessity to do so. If you just took boxing, for instance, or karate, or insert your martial art name here, and a bell goes ding ding, or an instructor says come up, and you bow and square off and begin to fight, like that's not how it's all. That's not how you don't jump like that. There's no ambush like that. All right. So we practice the ambush, and if you're ambushed or not, you will freeze. We teach ways to break the freeze. Fight, flight, or freeze is incredibly real in our, in our human nature. So, anything you want to add to that about fight, flight, or freeze? I think learning how to break a freeze is really important, and our training does that, right, Louise?
Yeah, Robert's doing some training with us right now where he almost attacks us with our eyes closed so that we don't have to react and figure out what's going on. But it does help.
That's good.
In the moment, you're like, oh my gosh. And then
You've got to break the freeze.
Yeah.
The longer you're frozen, the more damage you'll take, okay?
And the things that freeze you are different. Like things that I thought would make me go into that kind of like shock mode didn't, and then other things did with training.
Sure.
And I'm like, I never would have thought that would be my like a trigger point for me, but it was. So
Yeah. Your frozen state could be quick and over with, and it relieves itself, or you're in a deep freeze and you're taking damage. So yeah, and the stimuli to each person is different, so we don't know until it's happening. That's why we train. That's why we do continuous training. Go through quickly. The fight itself, I sort of alluded to that. Like they don't start with a round or an announcement. Let's fight now. Like ding ding, begin. It's happening before you know it. Or you're already in a consensual situation, and you want to not have things go there, and the person's forcing things upon you. Like it's all of a sudden happening. Like you're okay with what was going down, and then they're taking things further. So that's also where freezes can happen. But I will say this. No one survives wrong. I need to say that as well. That is so critical. There are some self-defense instructors nationwide who will you have to fight back. You have to fight. There's plenty of people who freeze in an SA situation, and that's their survival mode in the moment, and that's no one survives wrong. I need to say that as well. Okay. You catch what I'm throwing? Okay. All right. Because that is very, very, very important to realize. Okay. We hope we can get to physical defensive maneuvers and fight back. Because at that stage, it is warranted and valid. You should be fighting back. But no one survives wrong. Then we're at the aftermath, right? The aftermath is the moment the self-defense encounter ends, you're in the aftermath. So you're checking for first aid needs. You're checking for any sort of first aid or hospital needs of you and everyone else involved, by the way. And then you're maybe looking for eyewitnesses. Maybe you're gathering your thoughts. You're looking for was there somebody filming that? Was there a Ring doorbell camera? Is there a camera on the side of the Wawa or Sheets or Turkey Hill that's catching this? You want to gather data, and then you want to call this incident in. Different crimes are underreported, I get that, but we always advocate you to maybe call, if it's an emergency, call 911 immediately. If not, maybe get legal representation with you before you call. Okay, but you want to report the crime as soon as possible, so you can get the paper trail started. We have to. Plus, there's a perceived innocence if you're calling this crime in. Make sense? So, and then finally, in the aftermath, we advocate for really good mental health care, for counseling, for therapy. It is important. You cannot just say, "Oh, man, you can't tough it out." It's best to seek professional help. There'll be resources on campus. There'll be resources probably in your different work environments. But people and places to reach out to. Okay, so that's our breakdown. This is why we are not a martial arts. we talk about, discuss, and cover all of these things. In our women's program, we have the 4 P's of women's safety and self-defense, and that is this. We want women to be proactive and prepared so they are not paranoid or paralyzed by fear. Okay, so there's 2 on the sort of positive end of the spectrum, 2 on the negative. We want you to, just that proactive thinking, that mindset, that to be a little more prepared. You saw the video we did to promote tonight. We talked about backing into a parking space instead of pulling head forward and straight in. And that's about preparedness. That's if I need to leave here in a hurry, I'm already facing forward, put it in drive and go. That's just a proactive way of being about your everyday life. Some people don't give it a second thought, just pull a parking spot. But a little more proactive, a little more preparedness is you're going to back into the spot. That's as an example.
What about when you're walking alone? Like they're talking about walking alone?
Yeah.
I always tell my daughter, you walk with purpose. Shoulders back, straight up, you own the world. And nobody bothers you. They run from you. She'll laugh at me because we'll be at a park. And come on, baby.
Yeah.
Come on, we'll bring it down a little bit. No, we're at a park. We don't all live here. This is the way I walk.
I love
nobody
that.
bothers you.
I love it.
But yeah, if you act like you own where you're walking, you'd be surprised. People will get out of your way. They will not attempt to bother you.
Yeah, walk with confidence, shoulders back,
Exactly.
head forward.
Exactly.
We have a segment on one of our seminars that covers all of that, and I think you're 100% right. Let me talk real quick, though, first about eye contact. With walking with a purpose, like maybe you're owning the place, again, we want to get through the space without sort of any positive or negative. Like, we don't want to be too over the top. Right. You know what I mean?
So I should not be doing that.
Yeah. I'm an isolated hiking trail.
Don't seem mine.
So, but just that good, calm, but confident demeanor, looking straight forward, like a brief nod, a brief look, and then keep going. That kind
Say hi.
Yeah, hello. But,
What's your take on that? No, I am one of these people that I love saying hello because I think we are losing humanity.
Mm-hmm.
And so I actually get annoyed when people are like, look at me and I'm like, I'm not scared, what's your problem? But I like saying hello and even like, good morning, how are you? And I love those encounters. And so, I mean, it's not like I, start giving out personal information, but like, good morning, how are you? Like, I do like
it could actually be a deterrent. You should do that. I think it could be, because it lets you know that you've seen them. It lets you know that you are. They now think, oh, she's confident. She can be nice alone. I wouldn't stop and invite the conversation.
Good recipe.
Just keep going, right? Just keep going, right? But it would sort of make you feel, come across as if, oh, she's totally confident. If you're saying hello to someone, give them a nod. You're getting their hair color, eye color, their height, or what so that's actually a deterrent. Some criminals that want to have that element of surprise, you give them a nod and a hello, like I've seen. You're really saying, I see you, and keep going. So I love it. I think you should. And maybe they're nice people.
Yeah. I'm thinking of humanity.
I had an incident like that when I was a lot younger. I would say probably my late teens, early 20s. I was going from New York to Connecticut to visit my now husband. He's in college. And I was going through New York Port Authority. If anybody's ever been to New York, it's big, it's huge. And I had my luggage bag. I was by myself this trip. I didn't bring my friend with me. And I was walking, and it was a group of guys. I'd say maybe about 6 or 7 of them.
Okay.
They were coming toward me. They were walking towards me, and I was walking towards them. So it was inevitable. I was going to pass them.
Right.
And I could just see all eyes on me.
Sure.
And I said, you know what? My first instinct was, do not look away, do not look fearful, and do not run. So I kept going straight, and I looked them all in their face. I gave eye contact to all of them, but I kept going. And as soon as they passed me, I heard one of them say, we should take her.
Wow. Did you run?
No.
Okay.
I didn't.
Okay.
I went to my bus quickly, but I went to the bus quickly.
Right.
But I was aware. I didn't turn around. I was just like, okay, this is my destination. I was looking around, see who else was kind of like around me.
Yes, right.
But I heard it, and they said it loud enough. I don't know if they meant for me to hear it, but I know what I heard.
That's scary.
And that was a look, and I could tell because it was a gang of them. It was like, there was a lot of them. And it was just me, by myself. And I'm 5 feet. Yeah, and I'm 5 feet. And they're like 6 feet. And I was like, at that point, I think it was like you said, like instincts just kicked in.
Sure.
Because I'm like, I could have like.
You're not fighting 6'7" guy.
No.
No one like that.
No, I had to just look at them in the face, and I think that's might have what saved me.
Yeah, I think that pre-incident, like you're walking by, you give them a nice nod, and that could have saved you. But if you did one of these, like as you got closer, and you're like. You look timid. And like,
I think it would have been some trouble.
They wouldn't have had to say it. They would have just acted.
Yeah, because they said it. They walked right by me, and I heard them.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things. Is just to have that confidence along with purpose.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Kudos, great job. You think? I think some of the I just want to stress one more time about like if we talk about flashlights or pepper spray or any of that, right? All of that is good, okay? Taking self-defense classes or learning a martial art, boxing is good, but really, it's self-confidence and trusting your intuition. That's where it really is. Your intuitive nature is really your biggest first line of self-defense, okay? And just being a little more proactive about that safety, proactive and prepared. Yeah.
Back in the Stone Age, when I was in Girl Scouts,
I remember
it. they taught us in Girl Scouts a couple things. Carry your keys between your fingers. And that's why I'm asking if these are still relevant. The other was poke, kick, knee, pull. So, I mean, are those still things, or have a comb where you get, or whatever?
Yeah. So,
not to have something that was used against you in return.
I don't. All of those things, gadgets and self-defense tools are great. Any force equalizer, anything you can do to help is great. Okay, like you're saying, your heavy flashlight, your like a mag light, they're all fine. But again, they are like the second or third layer. The first layer is your brain and your intuition, your confidence, your emotions, your awareness skills, situational awareness. That's a big first line. As for the keys, though, this is one self-defense thing that won't die. They're all that's my least favorite of all. I can't stand it. First of all, I don't believe anyone does it. I don't believe anyone says, I'm about to leave Walmart or Target, and I'm going to place all my keys like Freddy Krueger, Edward Scissorhands, Wolverine.
I guess especially now most cars have the
fob. Right?
That's effective.
Push start, right? So I don't. But if you did do that, and once you strike someone, you were going to cut the soft, sensitive skin. You're going to slice your hands open. I think it's terrible advice. I think it looks cool in a TikTok or an article in Cosmo or something, but it's not real. It's such a dumb piece of advice. Are we being recorded? Am I saying it's really dumb. Don't put your keys through your fingers. It's just poor advice.
I mean, I have walked around that way when I carried more keys.
Yeah,
but
I think one nice solid metal flashlight, like a fist load in your hand, is a better tool, and you can play away.
So we'll put the Stone Age behind us.
Yeah, let's bury some of these little bits.
Okay.
It's on an episode of our podcast. We did a Mythbuster episode. That was one of
up gadgets, know how to use them. Like you said, make sure you get, I bought this and you never looked at it. It's not going to help you if you don't know how to use it. Or if something can be turned against you, right?
Right, yeah. My dad bought me pepper spray. That's my favorite answer for someone who doesn't come to a class. Like, all right, where is it? Well, it's in the bottom of a purse, or it's, I have to fumble for it. Somebody just the other night, I won't say her name, but she told me, I started a new job, and it's at like this mini mart. So my dad gave me a knife to protect myself.
Alrighty.
I was like, sweet Jesus. Like, I said, how often have you trained with your knife? She's like, never. That's really dumb. That's not good.
Well, I want to thank you for tuning in this week. Like I said, it was kind of a special episode in the sense that the recording was from the event I held last week, the SIP and Safety. And I want to say thank you again to Robert Thomas, Alyssa, and Margaret from Tsunami Self-Defense. Thank you to the Abington Library for hosting us, and to everyone who came out. It's so important. I cannot, I've said this before on the podcast, I'll say it again, I can't say it enough, that it's so important that you show up for local events. I mean, and it's, I hate to say it in a way where I'm like, I'm pleading with you, because they're good events, whether it's an art gallery or a concert or a comedy show or an art show or just a forum to discuss things, to learn about, wills or estate planning, or there's all kinds of events out there, and many of them are free. A lot are ticketed because, of course, people need to be paid for their talent, but a lot of them are free. And you know what? They're valuable. So please show up for them. I can't state that enough. So I'm grateful to the folks who showed up. And I also want to just say now that if there are any women business owners out there or leaders in the community who have the ability to make decisions at your organization, if you would ever like to collaborate on something with me, please do not hesitate to reach out. I love collaborating in the community. I've been doing these Laugh a Lattes. In fact, I've got one scheduled for September 23rd with the woman-owned reliefery on the Greenridge Corners there in Greenridge, part of Scranton. We'll be having some, coffee, some light refreshments for the morning, and opportunity to network, chit chat. And I'm going to be leading just a few, stress relieving laughter exercises before people, take off for the rest of their day to whatever problems we need to tackle. So that's just one example. I've done a few of those at Joy World Wealth Partners. I've done one at Urban Coworks, but I'm always looking to collaborate on different fun, informative, educational, inspirational, whatever you want to call it, events, especially with women and women-owned businesses, women-led organizations. I think it's so valuable that we get together, support one another, and put out good content. So if you would like to be on the podcast as a guest, please reach out to me. Or if you know someone in your life, you're like, hey, that Betty, she's a real go-getter. She runs a nonprofit and she runs marathons and she also has a 200-year-old parrot. I don't know. I'm just throwing things out here that are interesting, that would make for an interesting conversation. First, talk to Betty, make sure she's interested in being on the podcast, and then please feel free to connect us. Follow Funny Wine Girl Janine on Facebook and on Instagram. And if you would like to support content like the content I'm putting out here every week, and I'm not saying you have to like every conversation, but if any of these conversations have been valuable to you, there is a lot of noise out there. And it's because of my podcast sponsors that I'm able to keep doing this. So if you would like to support conversations like this one, reach out to me if you'd like to learn about podcast sponsorships. I also have $25 shout outs. If you want to, talk about your new business, give it a shout out. Maybe you've changed locations, or, you updated your website, you want more eyes on it, or you have an upcoming event, or, hey, you just want to say, Janine, I like what you're doing. Here's $25. Keep it up. Reach out to me. Funny Wine Girl Janine, like I said, or Janine Luby on Facebook and on Instagram. And as I say each week, I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart and the bottom of my wine glass.